our clients are suffering, enormously. The world of risk is more complex than it's ever been before. If you think about the technology transformation, you think about the workforce, you think about trade and geopolitics, and you think about weather, all of these major themes are crying out for a different type of solution from our industry.
Carl, I'm going to start with you. We know what this event is about now, and enhanced underwriting opportunity. So how are you at Aon responding to it? And what I really want is a sort of context from a sort of strategic thinking point of view.
The thing we started with is ensuring that we've got enterprise support. So we're getting our house ready before we start to do some creative things in the marketplace. And that's about getting investment approval, getting sponsorship from the highest level of the firm, and then building what we're doing into actually rethinking our broking strategy. Because a lot of what we're talking about today starts to influence a rethink about how we might want to go to market. What's our proposition with clients? How will we distribute risk? How do we find the very best solutions from the global marketplace in a connected world? And as we start to think about that, we have to start to lay foundations at an enterprise level to ensure that we do have the capabilities to broadcast the very best solutions to our clients at their fingertips at the point of trade. And if you haven't got the foundations, the architecture and the data standards and structures in the organization with the right investment, and I'm talking about serious investment. I don't know if you noticed, Aon made a commitment to Wall Street back in November 23. We made $1 billion bet on transforming the organization. And it's not just in things like placement, it's the entire client journey, the way that we show up to customers, from our analytics proposition, through to the risk transfer journey, through to the way that we service our clients post-bind, whether it's claims, whether it's certification issuance, the whole gambit. And every one of those individual work streams is critically important to the way that we deliver a differentiated proposition to our customers. So we've got that buy-in now, we've got the enterprise support, we're laying the foundations, and ultimately when we have that built into our placement and distribution mechanism, we can then access capital and different forms of capital to solve the right needs for our clients.
So Anthony also earlier today gave a sort of impassioned plea in the art of the possible, which was great to hear, and then I hear the same thing from you, which gladdens the heart. But we have talked about this for 20 years. And then I take that with a pinch of salt, and I think sort of what has changed, and how did you bring a huge organisation with you on such a complex thing?
It was a bit of luck. We had a new COO that came into the organisation 18 months ago, 2 years ago, from outside the industry, and that's always a bit of question. There's a lot of cynicism in an organisation about what do people know about broking when they come into this industry. But this lady was part of a sort of big conglomerate in the food business outside of insurance. But one of the things that she understood was the importance of being ready for major transformation and what it takes in terms of investment and strategy to change a legacy business like an insurance broker that is not a technology firm. And I think we talked about keeping to our knitting earlier. We haven't got the diversity of skill set in a broking organization that can actually move at the same pace as some of the other technology companies that sit outside our firm. So she brought a lot of diversity of thinking. So I think the first thing she's done very, very rapidly is she's changed the culture of the organization quite rapidly, and bringing some of those experiences from outside our industry and bringing in other people that give a different type of thinking to how we construct the organization and move from a sort of project where it's okay to fail to one where actually it is okay to fail, but you must learn from it and then not make the mistake again. So there's a lot of change taking place, but I think if you think about the importance of what's happening for clients, our clients are suffering, enormously. The world of risk is more complex than it's ever been before. If you think about the technology transformation, you think about the workforce, you think about trade and geopolitics, and you think about weather, all of these major themes are crying out for a different type of solution from our industry. And if you think about the economic gap or the difference between what is insured and what is suffered at the time of a crisis, there's this enormous gap. So we've got to bring new forms of capital to our industry. And I think that pressing need for clients to find relevance in our insurance industry is a major driver of whether we're going to remain relevant and sustainable in the future.
Hayley, does this fill your heart with joy? By which I mean we've had Aon and Marsh here. You get a big proportion of your business from them. They're both making huge strides in digitising and transforming their businesses. Is that a good thing for you? I mean, are you pleased? Are you ready to go?
Absolutely delighted. I mean, I've been in the market for longer than I'd like to remember. And what's really making this happen now is that brokers and carriers are both on the same journey at pretty much the same sort of speed. And that's absolutely key. And I don't think that's been that coherent approach in the market previously. So when I arrived at Chaucer, I spent the first couple of months just getting to know people, talking to people across the business. And the one thing that came up continuously was around when we're going to get better underwriting tooling, what are we doing about our data, how are we going to be able to respond to our brokers in a much more speedy, more accurate way, and be able to respond to the technology that they are putting in place that we will need to be able to deal with. So yeah, for us, it's fantastic. I mean, we talk about enhanced underwriting. There's so many great advantages with it. I heard the others talk about cost efficiency on the previous panel as well. Couldn't agree more. There's just a number of advantages that come with this that we just cannot do on our own. We have to have our partners on that same journey with us.
And how ready are you? Have you got to go and spend a lot of money? Have you got all the skills in-house already?
Good question. To your point, Clyde, you've got to have the enterprise and the technology in play. There's a couple of big projects that are underway at the moment, which are very much about making sure we're getting our entire technology stack into cloud. We have a big data strategy underway. Can't press the point enough around how important data is. Is the lifeblood of the industry, and it's certainly the lifeblood of our business as well. It's about managing change. And that's a really key thing for me, is being able to actually deliver these products, bring people on the journey with you, not try and overpromise, make sure that you're actually giving people what they want and what they need, as opposed to just a fancy new tool that sounds great, looks great, but it's not really bringing them any advantages. We're just going through building out a 5-year plan with Chaucer, and our technology is very, very much at the heart of that. And then looking at how we ensure, looking at the traditional setup of a business probably isn't going to be the business of the future in 5 years' time. The roles are going to change. The way that our underwriters are using the tooling will also change. So there's a huge amount of work to do, but we're certainly on that journey.
You sort of feel that tech and business converge over time into being almost the same thing. We wouldn't have Ed sitting quietly at the end if you weren't doing something with artificial labs. Where do they fit into this grand plan of yours?
So as we think about the efficiency opportunities that come through from trading, it's clearly we're going to find a go-to-market strategy which has different propositions of how we find access to capital. And sometimes we might want to use a facility, a best-of-class solution. Other times we might want to find silent capital that will just follow somebody else's decision-making process. We're hardwiring that into our broking strategy and our systems. But we have some skill sets internally, but there's other people, some of the best people sit outside your firm. And when you think about collaboration, what we have at Aon is we have some really good domain expertise in terms of placement and broking. We have a reinsurance business that actually advises insurance companies around their digital strategy. We call that our sort of software technology group, STG. And they're engaging with organizations around their own, insurance companies around their own transformations, et cetera. They build models and pricing systems for these clients. But equally, with artificial, you've been in the market for some time. You've been having lots of discussions about algorithmic trading and how do you take what was underwriting guidelines and codify that and put it into rules and automate some of that process, whether it's really, really complex or very, very simplistic as a starting point. And some of that knowledge and know-how of exchanging ideas and going through that ideation process, taking the very best of our reinsurance capabilities, our domain expertise, and other vendors will hopefully sort of accelerate both our learning, because we are playing a bit of catch-up, but we're going to accelerate, but we're going to use the best minds from across both our organization and externally to see how we can actually automate and start to bring new forms of capital in a more efficient way to solve the problems of our clients.
Well done, Artificial. Well done, Ed. It's a massive endorsement of what you do. I go further and say companies like yours that have been around for 6, 7, 8 years, survived, clearly have something to offer the market, good propositions, but still as a timing thing, why do you think artificial and why now?
I'm actually going to pinch something that Clyde said to me last week, which was, it's the first time in the certainly kind of anyone's working memory that all market participants are pushing broadly towards the same goal, which is more efficient and more effective deployment of capital. And broadly, most market participants don't lose out. So all other times there's been a kind of shift towards somebody loses out, and actually at the moment it feels like everybody is a winner. And I guess kind of why us, and particularly why us now. But I think people talk to us for strategic reasons. And when you're partnering with somebody else, you're giving away a lot. And we have a pretty unique offering which allows our customers to have full control over what we build for them. They have full control over their IP. We're not selling them a widget that we are then going to go and sell to one of their competitors. Every single one of our customers gets something that is unique to them. But luckily, I will talk about technology for 10 seconds. The way that we've built our technology means that we can charge you kind of off-the-shelf pricing for fully bespoke, fully configurable solutions. And that helps us win customers like Chaucer, like Aon, like any number of players in the London market on both the broking and the underwriting side.
But that's going to put you in a very influential position. I'm sure Aon won't be your only customer. You have a unique offering that is part of what people are looking for on the algorithmic side and beyond. But I don't believe for a second it's finished technology and it needs further investment. What are you looking to do over the next year or two that you can share with us?
For those of you that don't know us, we have two kind of groups of technology. We broadly call them smart placement and smart underwriting. But if you think of those as kind of Swiss Army knives for brokers and for carriers. So for brokers, we started our focus on them last year, and we built a digital contract building tool, which we've partnered with PPL to get to more and more brokers in the market. And the idea of smart placement as a whole is that we start to help brokers digitize placement. And I don't mean placement of, $10,000 risks. I mean placement of national infrastructure, the things that brokers actually spend their time and their money trying to win and place. And so we found a way to take away a lot of the pain of that process and to make sure that brokers spend their time broking, not on moving information around. Once you've started to digitize the road, let's call it a road of information across the London market, then the opportunities for underwriters are myriad, right? You can, we lose the distinction of, is this algorithmic underwriting, is it enhanced underwriting? It's just underwriting. It's just deploying capital in a really efficient and effective way. And I think as more and more of the market gets digitized, and particularly that first bit, distribution, the more that gets digitized, the more interesting things we can do with finding capacity to match to risk.
We're having a bit of an enthusiasm fest here, Hayley, and everybody's thinking how marvellous this would be. Is there anything that worries you in all of this?
I guess always on my mind is just the proliferation of broker portals that be appearing. It seems every week another broker's got another portal that they want us to want to use, and that's okay as long as everyone sticks to the same sort of data standards and we're all moving in the same direction. We don't want to get back to the horror of everyone doing something slightly differently in different places, because I think that just takes us back. And at the moment, we should be moving forwards, and with regard to getting some real data standards across the market and sticking to them, which is for the good of all of us and for our clients as well. So I think that's the one that probably worries me the most.
And are you worried about softening market conditions? What do you say to those people who say, look, enhanced underwriting's a marvellous and hard market, I'm just writing a share of a never-ending, profitable... But does that change? Does your thinking change in any way when the market conditions change?
I think I would say to my competitors, you just carry on what you're doing in some slow, clunky way and don't worry about putting any great technology in to help with your underwriting. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, as we get into a soft market, one of the key things, we need to be really speedy in our responses to our broker partners. We need to be accurate, and we need to maintain that underwriting discipline. And I think this is a real key time to double down on making sure that you've got that technology that supports that.
Same sort of question to you, Clyde. I mean, you've got a strategy, there's some smart strategic thinking. Is that strategic thinking consistent across the cycles, or, are you reacting to what you're seeing?
Absolutely not a soft market play. And this is about being fit for the market of the future. This industry is going to change, and whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, it's going to go through substantial change. It has to. It's the only way that this industry is going to remain relevant to our customer base. So this is about actually investing in a sustainable model that allows us to be fit for the future, where we can start to bring new solutions, being faster in our innovation, and ensure that actually clients actually view insurance and the product of insurance as actually a really powerful thing, just in the same way as they treat every other sort of financial services. And if we don't do this, we have an existential threat. This is about investing for the long term, and it's going to be required whether the market is hard, soft, or in flux.
So you've got a strategy. There's exciting things ahead. In sort of tangible terms over the next year or two, what can we expect from Aon? What are your plans?
So you'll see a laser focus on execution. I took a lot of pride in a comment from somebody who had worked at Aon for 20 years, and when they heard that our plan is on track, it's on time, it's on budget, they said that's the first technology project in Aon they've ever experienced. So we're going to continue to be very, very dedicated around delivery. We're going to focus internally to start with. We're going to get it right, and we're going to launch correctly. And at the right time, we'll go to market, and we'll talk to our carriers about actually what does it really mean for them, and how we're going to trade with that type of carrier base in the future. But I think for the next couple of years, we're very focused on delivering the product, building out our placement technology, being innovative in the market, but not trying to run before we can walk.
What you get in your many sponsorship benefits is the right to finish a panel discussion with the last word, Ed. What would you like to say to everybody here? Any sort of requests, please, far away.
A very broad question. My kind of bugbear is that everybody gets very worried about putting things into little boxes because it gives them reasons to not do stuff. I don't want to do enhanced underwriting because it's scary or I don't understand it. Algorithmic's not for me because that means I have to take all the control away from the underwriters. If we can move to a place where people talk about how am I going to deploy capital in the most efficient and effective way, then that's a really interesting place for us to start having a conversation. And that's where I would start my conversations with our CEO and chief exec, customers, carriers. It's how are you going to get your balance sheet working on behalf of your underwriters in front of these brokers? Because brokers are doing some really interesting things, but every single one of them is going to do something different. They're not going to cobble together a little group that gives you the answers. You're going to have to go to them and say, this is how I'm going to add value to you, Aon, or to you, Marsh, or to you, BMS. And so if you start thinking about that, then you can start thinking about, okay, and what technology do I need to deliver this solution to me? Do I want to outsource my responsibilities to someone else? And that is a perfectly good idea. Lots of people will do that. Some people will put their head in the sand and go, actually, this is a soft market thing. I'm going to hope that it all blows over. And other people will want to build something themselves, but won't want to spend the money. And for those of you that are in that third group where you want to own something, have the control, own your IP, then please come and have a chat to us. We're always very happy to show you what we can do.
Thank you very much. Clyde, Hayley, Ed, inspiring stuff. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Thank you.